Q&A, so over to the floor for questions from the media.
By the way, that's my job. I'm supposed to be. That's what.
I'm not used to having anyone here more than me, Ariel, so well done. Congratulations. He was actually having an argument today about who is more popular in Dublin, me or Ariel. I mean, Ariel kept asking the question, and I said the answer is Ariel. But will he be remembered in the same way when he's gone?
He's the best thing to agree. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for the ego boost. Who's first?
Awesome. Andy, how far do you think that your child Paddy Donovan can go?
Paddy has all the talent and dedication to go all the way. He certainly has the makings of a world champion, just needs experience and guidance. But he's been good progress, so he's well on his way. Thank you.
I think this week will be good for him mentally, being able to get out in Dublin, etc.
Oh, we're so grateful to Eddie and Frank and all the matchroom for giving us this fight. We've had a couple of changes of opponents, but Samuel Mason is probably the best fighter Paddy's faced. And I think, yeah, at this stage, I know Paddy, I know how he just flies on this type of atmosphere. The bigger the crowd, the bigger stage, the better it'll be. So I think get in early, he's on at 5:30, so get in early and watch him, and hopefully see the next match on fire. Make a statement.
He looked great today. I mean, anyone that wants to take their top off at every opportunity, did you notice that the only way? I mean, I would do the same if I had a body like that, but we'll see.
Andy, how soon can Gary Cully headline for you?
I think really, the plan now is for all these fighters, Gary obviously and Paddy, to kind of jump on the coattails of Katie Taylor. I said today we've kind of done this the wrong way around. Katie Taylor should have headlined on her debut in Ireland, should have fought for a world title in Ireland, but we're thankful that we're here now. And people like Gary and Paddy are going to reap the benefits of that. For Gary, the thing I like about this fight is it's still the level below where we want to be when he headlines, but it's a fight that's going to give him rounds. And I just feel that the last couple of fights, Vasquez, and the two that followed, have just been easy, and they've all gone 1-2 rounds. I think this guy, we'll see, will give him rounds, and I want him to have rounds, because he's on the verge now of a serious step. But you need fighters coming through that have the ability to headline the 3 arena. And when you look at those fighters coming through, he's number 1 on the list.
Who's on that list next?
Well, I mean, you've got fighters from all over Ireland. You've got Gary Cully, obviously you've got Paddy Donovan. I mean, even the Hogan-Metcalf fight is going to be a great fight. We know that Hogan's coming towards the back end of his career. Keeping Adjarko, whether you talk about Belfast, Dublin, I mean, there's so much talent coming through. And I feel like Katie Taylor said something really nice today, which was, we're bringing big-time boxing back to Ireland. I've never really thought of it like that, because I just thought we were bringing Katie Taylor back to Ireland. But there was a real good feeling there today, wow, boxing's actually back. And there hasn't been a show like this in Ireland for a long, long time.
Gary, we've done loads of interviews back in Belfast when you were still 4-5-0, whatever it was, and you spoke about bringing big time boxing back to Dublin, Ireland. Did you ever think it would come so soon in this part of your career so far?
I think like growing up I always dreamt of this, it's always something I wanted. I've been visualising this for years, but the way it's panned out in the last, I think 12 to 18 months since I signed my matchroom, beating Vasquez and then having them 2 big knockouts on the bounce. Yeah man, it's been something that I've been planning for a long time, that I've been visualising for a long time, I suppose. I think I was calling for it maybe like when we were doing interviews 2-3 years back, and I think if it had happened then I wasn't quite ready for it, but I believe that it's the perfect time for me now. I've matured, I'm ready for these big step ups, I'm ready for the co-main events and the headline slots and all of this, which I probably wasn't when I was calling for it back 2-3 years ago. So I believe it's the perfect time now, and I'm just excited to be back in Dublin and be back home.
Good stuff. I'm on for Ariel as well. You've done huge UFC events in Dublin. What are you expecting on Saturday?
Well, believe it or not, I've only actually been to Dublin once. That was in July of 2014 when Conor McGregor fought Diego Brandao. And I've been dying to come back ever since. And I've been waiting for the event that I think could replicate that atmosphere. Till this day, till this moment, I believe that's the best atmosphere that I've ever witnessed in person. There have been some that have come close. MSG last year, Taylor Serrano comes close, but nothing compared to July 2014, because as you may recall, it was one Irish fighter after the next, building up, right? It was like Paddy Houlihan, and then it built up to Conor, and then it was just an explosion. Never experienced anything like that. It was intoxicating, and I've been dying to experience it. I've been a big fan of Katie Taylor's. I've said on my show publicly, if she ever gets to fight in Ireland, I would love to be there. And when DAZN reached out to me and said, we want you to work on the Jake Paul and Nathan Diaz fight, makes sense, you know, I have a relationship with both. I said, great, cool. But I need to work on that show on May 20th. That one means a lot to me personally as a fight fan. I need to be here, so I can't wait. I'm buzzing. I'll do anything. Like I said, you know, I'll get his coffee.
Anything,
I pretty much is stopping short at anything, but I'm just here to help out and do whatever I can because I wanted to be in that building again. And what I love so much about it, sorry for going long, it's not a cupcake fight. She could have sold out the 3 Arena fighting a broomstick. She's not fighting broomstick. She's fighting arguably one of her toughest opponents to date, and that to me says it all about Katie Taylor.
You said anything, Eddie? What is your plan?
I mean, as you know, the money that Ariel Helwani charges these shows to be here off the goodness of his own heart for no fee is an incredible gesture. I think we should give him a round of applause for that.
I said I'd love to be here. I don't want to be here for free, honestly. It's such a crazy.
Question for Ariel and Eddie. What were your memories from Taylor Serrano, build up, Jake Paul, and things like that?
For me, it was sitting in the corral next to Jake Paul, just screaming, you know, and just, I think the thing that stands out is probably the only mega fight that I've been involved with where I actually stood back and just looked around, and that was with her famous ring walk, Katie. And you know, every Katie Taylor fight of magnitude, I will say to her, I will say to Brian Pierce, have you thought about this song? You know, the Cranberries or whatever it might be. You know, and they always say, she would say to me, shut up. You know, and then some other song will come on. And that day, which was a church song at play, it was just unbelievable. And I've never seen her walk so slow. I remember someone lobbed an Irish flag at me in the face and I put it around my neck. And, you know, I was just looking at Katie Taylor, just walking out so slowly. And it was one of the few fights that I've actually looked back and gone, wow, how did we get here? You know, we're not in Dublin now, we're in Madison Square Garden, it's a setup. And after the fight, in the ring, just, you know, when they said, and still, it was just an amazing feeling. And a little bit, you know, we had a bad night there when AJ fought Ruiz. I mean, Katie beat Bassoon that night, but it was like pretty bad memories of that place. And it was nice to get a good one.
Yeah, I love that venue. It means a lot to me. I'm a huge New York Knicks fan, so to see a historic event like that, first time in the 140 plus year history of MSG, 2 women headlining, especially those 2 women. The thing I will never forget was, and you could attest to this, it felt to me like 50-50. Hardcore Puerto Rican fans, hardcore Irish fans, which made for an incredible atmosphere. The chanting, the singing, all that stuff. I mean, up there, like top 5 greatest nights that I've ever, you know, attended personally.
One for Ariel. You're obviously here before with Conor McGregor, but I'm interested in how do you compare the fanfare for Conor McGregor at that time and Katie Taylor now?
So it's very interesting. When I was here for Conor, it was 2014, right? He was on the rise. And I remember being at the open workout, which was a similar scene to today, and I remember meeting a bunch of kids outside on their bikes, and they were asking me, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm here for the Conor McGregor open workout. I wasn't sure if Ireland truly knew who he was. Oh yeah, we know Conor McGregor. And I said, why do you like him? And they said, Conor makes us believe that we could be something, that we could get out of here and make an impact on the global stage. And I'll never forget that interaction. Fast forward to today, Katie's not on the rise. Katie has arrived, right? She is a megastar, certainly here. And to see these kids at the open workout, like I felt like I was at a Justin Bieber concert. To see kids, young girls, young boys screaming at the top of their lungs. Like usually you go to these open workouts and it's teenagers, it's 20-year-olds, it's 30-year-olds. They want to take a picture. It's not like I have kids that age and they're not watching fighting. These kids are there to see Katie Taylor because to them, she's the most famous sports person in this country. Not just the most famous fighter, not the most famous female fighter, the most famous sports person in this country. That's a huge deal. And that transcends fighting. So it feels a little bit different because Conor was like on this rocket ship. This feels like the coronation. This feels like the homecoming, the celebration. And And so there's the difference, but both spectacular. I'm not one of these people who tries to talk about Katie to put down Connor, or talk about Connor to put down Katie. They can both survive, they can both thrive, and I love the fact that they're working together, that Connor's sponsoring this event, supporting her, because let's be honest, he's always supported her since she turned pro.
Thanks very much.
Gary, you spoke about Connor being on the rise. You're on the rise. I mean, you're flashy like Connor a little bit. The beard and all that, the haircut, almost like that. But what I will say is that lightweight division that you're in is probably one of the most dangerous stacked divisions there is in Shakur Stevenson. Tank, if he goes down there, I know he's got 146 Ryan Garcia, you've got David Haney, Lomachenko, yourself, Matthew Hughes over here.
Andy Cruz.
Andy Cruz, yeah. Isaac Cruz, I mean, it's what division you're in, so Connor was on the rise, like Ariel said, me, sort of headline and the fanfare. Are you there yet, you think?
I think that's what Saturday is about for me. That's what I want to do. I want to build a fan base back home. A lot of Irish boxing fans and fighting fans across the UK and Ireland know who Gary Cully is, but I want to become a name to the Irish sports fans and just Irish households. And Saturday night, I think, is the first step in doing that. I want to come back here towards the end of the year, headline myself, and become a headline act and start forging my own path and my own legacy. And then I think to start 2024, mid 2024, I'm ready to go over and take on them big names.
You mentioned the UK fans know you now, obviously, with the 2 fights that you've had on Eddie's cards, spectacular knockouts. Eddie, you've known to take fighters like Gary Cully over to the US to sort of establish them over there. Is he destined to go to the US this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's that kind of entertainer. You know, he knocks people out. You know, he's a huge lightweight. You know, a very tricky style as well, quite unique in that, you know, can sometimes be awkward, which is good, but also heavy-handed and knocking people out with that stuff. It's quite unique. You don't really see that. Sometimes a fighter that's tall and rangy is just awkward, but he's tall, rangy, awkward, powerful, slick. He's got all of that stuff, and also when it's quite easy. It's a lot easier to take Irish fighters to America than it is to take English fighters to America. I mean, there's gentlemen down there who really benefited off the fact that there is a lot of Irish people, passionate people who live in America, and you know, Gary Cully's the kind of guy that can do that. I mean, we did it with Katie Taylor. We've got the experience of going to Boston, to Philadelphia, of course, to New York as well. And we know where those pockets are. And I think he's going to be the kind of fighters that are going to really attract people over there.
I would just say, why not bring them here? Because you've got a guy who can sell out radios, who will be selling out radios, and those guys will not really sell too well.
Yeah.
You know, they find small places that are half full. And like Eddie said, southpaw, 6'2", can punch. Yeah, he has dimensions to trouble all those guys.
Only 6'2"?
6'2.5".
With his deep heels on.
Well, yeah, Irish, and here we get behind our own, you know, we come out, we support. Obviously, Katie's event on Saturday night it's sold out and it's sold out in minutes, but we do that for each other, you know. When one goes to war, we all go to war. It's cliche, but it is an Irish thing. We're fighting Irish, and we do come out in droves to support each other. So I believe I can come back here, bring the Americans over here, sell out arenas over here too, you know.
I've got a question for you. Do you feel the pressure to deliver an entertaining performance on Saturday? Because this is the kind of fight, this guy's durable, isn't he? We saw him with Sandor Martin, we know he's been distance with some good fighters. But to be that headline act, you've got to almost continue what you've been doing, which is knocking people out, hurting people. That's what people love to see, isn't it? A bit of a stiffer test for you in that respect with his opponent on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. Jose Felix has been in, like you said, Sandor Martin went the distance. Tyrone McKenna, who's a gym mate of mine, went the distance as well. But every time I get in, look, winning is number one priority for me, but after that everything is a bonus. But I'm getting in there to perform, to entertain, to be exciting. I feel like I know the game, I know what people want to see, and people have to want to tune in and watch you fight, and I'll come to entertain every time I say, you know how I'm coming to take your head off, and that's really my style, you know. I'm coming in there to fight. If needs be, I believe I've got a good boxing skill set. I can get behind the jab, and I can do that very well as well. But first and foremost, I'm coming out and I'm coming to fight, like, you know.
How do you see the Devin Haney versus Lomachenko fight going?
I think if it was 2 years ago, it would have went a lot differently. I think Devin's just a lot bigger now, fresher, younger. Loma's obviously a great boxer and has a great skill set, but I think it's just come about 2 years too late for him. Obviously can't write him off, he's like I said, he's a great fighter, but I believe it's just Evan's time now, and I think he'll win.
Just wanted a question just in relation to kind of everything we're talking about with Gary, the opportunities that you're putting in front of him and the rest of the Irish fighters that are on the card this weekend. Is there a plan in place, if everything goes well, to kind of invest in the next generation of Irish fighters? There's been a lot of excitement with kind of the new pros and amateurs planning to go pro in Ireland at the moment, because their biggest complaint is that they feel there's a lack of opportunity for them. So is Match willing to put a plan in place?
Yeah, I think we haven't signed enough, and I don't think any promoter has signed enough young Irish talent from the Olympics, from of that pedigree, World Championship pedigree, for that reason. When you're building a fan base, it's very difficult when there's no shows in Ireland to just bring a fighter over and box him in England and build him there. You can do it if they're good enough. You'll do it, but you've got fighters that come through. I mean, someone said today about how's the future look for Irish boxing. Fantastic, because you've got so much talent. You always have. It's not like you're not going to have fighters that are going to have. Now, how far they can go is dependent on them and their team. But even from the female side, I mean, I know Kelly Harrington isn't interested in turning pro, but Amy Broadhurst has achieved so much, and there's other great. I watched a lot of them in the Commonwealth Games. That young Jude Gallagher was there today. I didn't even recognise him today. Had a photo of me and then posted it. But I thought in the Commonwealth Games, wow, that kid can really fight. And I think you've got a great Irish system. Mr. Conlon, who we have a bit of a love-hate relationship with, because we were going at each other during the Lee Wood fight. But I love him and I really respect him. I think he's a great coach, and I think the whole set-up system, amateur system, and it's going to get really interesting. This is a bit deep, but with the whole. That was interesting. Okay, you can get it out on camera here. I don't know, because I've shit myself there. Never seen that happen before.
Good job, it's on the live stream.
Thanks for coming. That was lovely. On a serious note, when I'm talking about the AIBA split, the problem now is that this is a really interesting conversation. AIBA now doubling prize funds for world championships, right? So if you're a female amateur, you can win $100,000, $50,000 and $25,000 for gold, silver and bronze in the worlds. The men is $200,000, $100,000 and $50,000, and they've just announced that they're doubling both prize funds next year. But the IOC has announced that you can no longer qualify through the World Championships. So Ireland have pulled out of the World Championships, and now you can qualify through another means, I think the European Championships. But it's a really interesting dynamic. I'm glad I'm not involved in those politics, where as a young fighter you could be a fighter that's a favourite to win the Worlds. Next year you win $400,000 for winning the World Amateur Championships. You know what I mean? But as an Irish amateur you're being told you're not allowed to enter because we don't support it, which I understand as well, but at the same time it's just like, I feel as an amateur, if you can't get in the Olympics, like, that's a real dangerous crossover between getting paid in the amateurs and, and like, we got Beatriz Ferreira, right, who is an unbelievable female fighter, part of the Brazilian team. She just won the World Championships. She won $100,000. She's got to come back and have 6 rounds for me in Sheffield on July 1st for a lot less money. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, you were in the amateurs.
There's also the funding as well. From the government, if you can't enter these championships, you can't win those medals. You can't, secure your funding for your next year's boxing. So the politics of amateur boxing now, it's like they talk about corruption in pro boxing. That's what they're telling me now. They're talking to pro, they're a lot of blind, but listen, the amateur game is cutthroat, isn't it? It's dirty.
Especially now with no head guards, which prize fighting anyway, isn't it? Yeah.
All right, well, this is great stuff, and I feel like more of this conversation is to come. We're going to let the fans in here. We're going to end the media Q&A portion of this little roundtable. I don't know if we're going to fix the back before we go live.
That was intentional.
Yes.
Because we wanted to bring it down dramatically and show you the JD tills, screens and stuff like that.
So we'll be back in a moment. Stand by.